Okay guys, so I reviewed Volume 1 of JMS's run, and now we're looking at Volume 2, which completes his entire run, and this contains Amazing Spider-Man 515 to 545, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man 1 to 4 and 24, Marvel Knight Spider-Man 19 to 22, Sensational Spider-Man 41, Spider-Man The Other Sketchbook 1, and Spider-Man One More Day Sketchbook number 1. So this is a pretty hefty omnibus. It's a little over 1,000 pages, and it completes the big run. Now this does have the controversial One More Day, and we'll get to that, but what else? What is this volume contain, and why is it worth picking up if it is? Well, I'm about to get into it. As I told you in my last review, I was a big fan of Volume 1, despite having since passed. So does Volume 2 have that same flair? Well, despite One More Day, is the rest worth reading? And before we jump back into review, I did want to talk about an awesome guy who runs an awesome little business called Omni Bookmarks, and this guy is on Instagram. You can check him out right now. I'm showing you the page as we are talking, and he does phenomenal work if you're a big fan of bookmarks. And like me, I hate folding my pages. Even just a little turn on the edge really kind of irritates me. So these bookmarks have been my favorite new thing, and I love switching the bookmarks mattering what I'm reading, whether it be manga, comics, indie, Marvel, DC, whatever it is. I like to switch it up, and as you can see, he has made some extraordinary ones for me. He works very well with most people, and he can make custom designs for you, but he has so many badass ones too online. You gotta check those out. So this is not a paid sponsor. This guy's just awesome. I want to promote him. Please go check it out. If you want a bookmark for your omnibuses, look no further. These are high quality, good ass shit. As I said in my first omnibus review, the reason I got into Spider-Man was this run, or one of the reasons, alongside Ultimate Spider-Man, that got me into comics. So it is a big part of my childhood. So we got through Sins Past in the last volume, which is a pretty crappy arc, to be honest. And now we have Peter trying to just put his life back together and also be a new Avenger. This volume starts off with the past of Peter in high school, and those are kind of haunting him because an old face comes back. And this arc, or this storyline, is pretty much an anti-bully message that results in someone transforming into a monster. Peter has to deal with that and learning who he is back in the past and where he is now, and then a sudden loss of the home that they grew up in, Peter and May. And so this leads to Peter spending time more at the Avengers Mansion with Aunt May and MJ, and also starting to get closer to Tony, as becoming kind of like Tony becoming his mentor. So all this is happening in the first two arcs, but things go bad pretty quickly as we reintroduce Merlin, and things get wild for Peter as his body is dying. And this begins the other arc that is a very, very long 12-issue crossover event for Spider-Man. All this is happening really just to make him more like the Tobey version of Spider-Man when the movies were coming out. And the evolution of this character, this big payoff to this event, which some of it is entertaining. The Merlin fight with Spider-Man is fun. The payoff is really for him to just be able to shoot webs out of his arms without his web shooter. That's pretty much... It's weird. I don't know. It's weird, but that's the whole reason for this arc, to be honest. Let's be honest. If you look at the time it was released and when the movies were coming out, that's exactly why. And we have a lot of movie synergy here because Spider-Man 3 is coming out soon, so we want to tie back to the black suit, the symbiote suit, but we don't want to bring Venom back because that's unnecessary, right? So a lot is happening to relate to the movies here. And then we have the Civil War event that is kind of forced into Peter's life, where he has to choose a side. He chooses Tony because at that point Tony is kind of more of a mentor to him than anything, and he kind of gets this new suit which looks really cool, the Iron Spider suit. In my opinion, it looks cooler than the movie one, but you know, that's up to debate. And anyway, the Civil War arc is really for Peter to come out in public and announce who he is. He is Peter Parker. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and this makes a big public event. It's one of the most sold comics out there. And then all of this, all the Civil War, really leads to the Back in Black arc, which is Aunt May getting shot, because obviously after they find out who Peter is, or who Spider-Man is, and that he's Peter, Well, Kingpin doesn't like that and sends a hitman to shoot Peter. Instead, the hitman shoots Aunt May, and Peter brings her to the hospital trying to save her, and then goes after the hitman as well as Fisk. So it's all just Peter being very angry. Now, I will say that I actually enjoy that part of the storyline. It is dark. It's not your typical wisecracking Spider-Man superhero fare, and I think that's enjoyable. And I think this could have been a great character growth for Peter to accept that Aunt May might die due to his actions, and he'll grow with it. Instead, as you would guess, we get the One More Day arc. In One More Day, Peter has to make a deal to sacrifice his marriage in order to let Aunt May live. A very old Aunt May who is injured and dying, but very old, lived a full life, and Peter has to decide if he should let her live more or sacrifice his marriage with MJ, which he had for years now and is madly in love. Which really should just be an easy choice for Peter, but it's also an easy way to reset the actions that happened in Civil War. Everybody will forget who Peter is. He's not Spider-Man to the public anymore, and he doesn't have MJ, so we can bring him back and revert him back to his dating life. This is a way to keep Peter young. This is a way to keep people invested in a younger Peter Parker. That was the motivation for this storyline for One More Day. Now, there are some interesting things to be had in this. I do like I said, the Back in Black storyline. I did enjoy the Merlin fight. I do think that JMS just has this way of writing MJ and Peter really well. Their relationship feels realistic. It feels like a marriage. All of that works. And I will say that I think One More Day, the results of it are pretty terrible, but the writing isn't horrible most of the time. I think there's a really great part 2 in there with what could have been, what if, that really kind of hits home for Peter in the last few moments that I really enjoyed. But overall, is this omnibus great? Well, I think it's all over the place, and that's the same that goes with the storyline and the art. I want to talk a little bit about the art. Sometimes fantastic, sometimes not so much. Especially in the other crossover, we have a lot of different artists, and it's just really mismatching the tone that's going into the storyline, and it feels way too cartoony at points, whereas other parts feel more realistic and down to earth and brutal. So I didn't think the art really worked here, whereas the first volume had pretty much the same artist almost throughout the entire book until the end. I think this one lacked that vision, if I'm being honest. So overall, it's not the worst thing, but it's not the best thing. It's kind of like right in the middle in terms of quality. Most of the stories I rated here about a 3 out of 5. I think they're decent or good. Some I would rate a 4, or one I would rate a 4, and one I would rate a 2, One More Day. So I feel like it kind of goes that 3 out of 5. Honestly, it would be a 2.5 if I'm being honest overall in terms of the arcing stories that we have here and everything. But I think the dialogue and the charm of Peter and MJ do bump it up to a 3 for me. And I do think there are some great moments hidden in this very long book. If you're a fan of the first volume, I do suggest reading it. I think it's worth reading. I just think that it's very unfocused. It's a lot of forced mandate crossovers and a lot of forcing the movie synergy to match the comics that I hate when they do most of the time. Anyway, I hope you liked this review. If you did, hit that like button. That means a lot. If you love it, hit the subscribe. I got more reviews coming out. And everybody, let me know what you think of this run. Was this run great? Did you love the first half and think the second half's just decent like me? Did you love both halves? Did you hate both halves? Let me know in the comments below. And everybody, have a wonderful day.